Good evening and welcome to Freed Souls Radio CF. This is your host, Elder Pamela Horn. And with me tonight is my sister-in-law,
Daphne Horn.
All right now. And we are with Consuming Fire Ministries coming out of Haw River, North Carolina with Fireside Talks, the ingredients of godly relationships. Y'all, we're going to kick it off tonight with part 3 of toxic relationships. Woo!
Man.
And I know that the last show we had we got on was part 2 of toxic relationships. We covered we were on walking on you make you feel like you're always walking on eggshells. Yeah. And we're talking about toxic relationships, relationships that are no good for us, people that we have relationships with that are poisonous to us, just downright just not good for us, not good for our emotional health, not good for our well-being period. And, trying to identify some of that stuff, very harmful to us, So we got on the walking on eggshells. People make you feel like you always have to walk on eggshells around them. And one thing that they do, it's they always blowing up and overreacting. When you go around and you have somebody that you're in their presence and, they're always combative. There's always, some negative vibe, some negative energy. You can't never relax around them because you're scared to, it's like, you're walking on eggshells, you're scared to upset the person. You don't know what to say to them because one minute, they're fine. It's like they're bipolar almost, 1 minute they're fine with you saying the sky is blue. And the next minute, if you say the sky is blue, it's a war, just all out crazy stuff like that. 1 minute they're friendly and the next minute they're angry. It also can be hard to be yourself around people like that. Hard to be genuine around people like that because along with walking on eggshells, you kind of change yourself.
Yeah, we talked about that.
You change yourself depending on who that person is that's around you. And so when you have to put on a mask to be around somebody, that's not good. It's stressful. It can get to the point where it produces anxiety. I
agree with that.
You become less important. Your needs become less important, and because you're always deferring to the other person, to the needs of the other person, trying to make the other person happy, and you're going above and beyond trying to make them happy, even when you're putting your own happiness at stake.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next part we're gonna go into, this is part 3 of toxic relationships, and we're going to be talking about the people that play the victim. The people that always play the victim. Amen.
Amen.
See, none of us are perfect. We know that we're not perfect, and sooner or later we all mess up, but one of the keys to personal health is the ability to be aware of when you mess up, and then you own your own mistakes. You own up to it, right?
Yeah.
You own up to the things that you do. I have a temper, and I know I have a temper, and that old man rises when I'm provoked.
Yeah.
And a lot of people know how to push the buttons. People will study you. People will study you, especially people that are supposed to be Christians,
Yeah.
and they will bait you. Just like a worm on a hook baits a fish, they know how to bait you. And that's one of my downfalls, and I know that, and that's why I study to be quiet a lot. Even though I've always been a quiet person, I became even more quiet, you know.
Listen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know that, you know, yeah, but I had to become even more quiet, because even though I was a quiet person, when I was out there in the world, when situations arose where, you know, somebody baited me or you know, kind of got me going, so to speak, I would defend myself.
Yeah.
And being in defense of myself, it was, you know, it was like, well, yeah, I'll meet you in the parking lot type thing. You know, that was that old man. And
Wow.
even even in Christian relationships, even though you can't come out and be, you know, that way, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can be that way in so many words, with, you know, with your mouth, with, you know, your attitude, with, you know, different things. It's like, you know, don't try me, you know.
Yeah.
You don't, you know, you don't want none of this. And that's, and you can give off that vibe.
Yeah.
And, you know, I fight with that. I fight with that a lot, because
Even to the,
oh my God, when
even-
people push and push me,
but they don't know you like that, huh, Pam?
they don't know me like that. They really don't. And it ain't nothing but God that lives on the inside of me that keeps those things at bay.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, you know, people can push you.
Yes, you sure can.
They really can't. Your family can push you, you know, people that are your friends or supposed to be your friends can push you. People that's in your vicinity of or your circle,
Yeah.
that you deal with on a weekly or daily basis, they can push those buttons. And it when when you think about, you know, you serving in a church setting, you know, with different people, everybody has their different personalities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you all have your different personalities, but some people are good at picking out your bad qualities or picking out your weaknesses, and they're like vultures.
That's true.
They're like vultures. They can
Now, did you say this?
pick up. They can pick up on some dead things or carcasses or whatever, and they swarm.
But did you just say
on you, and they pick your bones?
Did you just say this was within the church confines?
I'm just using that as an example.
Oh, okay.
They'll pick you. You know, they will swarm on you like vultures and pick those. Pick your, you know.
They can figure out kind of like what makes you go off, or you know, get you out of character.
Get you out of character, man. And then they play the victim. Oh, I didn't know that Elder Horn was so mean. You know, so after you have pushed her to the limit, you understand what I'm saying? You know, it reminds me of a dream that I had, and you know, God deals with me in dreams, you know, as you know, and interpretation of dreams. So in this dream, it was a barn full of monkeys. And in the barn, when the door opened to the barn, a man dressed in overalls came in, and there was a barn full of monkeys. And in the monkeys' hands, they were playing with whips, or what I thought at the time were whips. But when I got a closer look at it, you know, I saw that they were snakes in the monkey's hands, and they were throwing it like they was throwing a whip.
Mm.
And they were throwing these whips at these two little ducks. And the two little ducks, they were like sitting ducks, what you call sitting ducks. So they were there on the table, and in the dream, you know, I got a close up. You know how you get a close up on the camera gets a close up on you. So in the dream, I got a close up vision of the face of the ducks, and they were all beat up and bloodied and, you know, just bruised up. And the poor little ducks was barely breathing. You could see that, you know, the chest was rising and falling. That's how we were told to check, you know, to see if somebody was breathing, if they needed, you know, CPR. So that's what God was showing me. They were still breathing. The chest was rising and falling, but they were barely breathing, right? So, and when I looked and I saw the monkeys, they were just swinging from the rafters of the barn and going, you know, just laughing and going from one pole to the next, you know, just swinging on the rafters. And then they were taking the little snakes and they were hitting the little ducks with the snakes like they were whips. And God said, venomous tongues.
Yeah.
Venomous tongues. I mean,
Oh
he
God.
gave me so much on that dream. And it was like the man that came in, he was representing the pastor. And he came in and he started pulling the monkeys, because the monkeys were just piled up and beating the crap out of ducks, and smacking them with the snakes. And, you know, the snakes was biting on the ducks, or, you know, they just, and so he was coming in, and that's how, you know, we operate in the church today. The pastor's so busy. He's so busy delivering the people in the church, doing deliverance on the same folks in the church, and taking them through deliverance on different things in the church, that he can't go outside, and, you know, and the ministry can't go forward. Right. Because you're so focused on fixing the people in the congregation. Yeah. And dealing with stuff that in the congregation, that people are fighting against each other. Because the poor little ducks was just trying to live right.
But they were being just beat down,
lied on, you know, just backbiting and all kinds of stuff that the other church people were doing. So it makes jealousy, envy, strife, all kinds of stuff that was going on.
So the power of life and death lies in the tongue.
That too. But these are the same ones that play the victim.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They do you dirty, or do, you know, little underhanded stuff to you, but then they're the victim.
They're so crafty, good at making it seem like you're the one who's causing the problem.
Crafty. Exactly. They're good at it. They're crafty. Now, like I said, we all make mistakes. We're not perfect. Obviously, it doesn't feel good to admit when you're wrong. And a lot of times you don't want to admit when you're wrong.
It can feel good if you're, you know, depending on what relationship it's in, you know, you're a part of.
It can feel good when you finally get it off of your heart. Just like, you know, even though people may do, let's say the two little ducks, maybe, you know, they were being abused or hurt or lied on, and, you know, all of that stuff. But let's say if they snap back at the little monkeys, well, see, that's where they were wrong, right?
That's true.
So, or their attitude towards the little monkeys, you know, because some people, and I might be one of them, they just can't suffer in silence a lot of times. You know, that is very hard to do. And sometimes, you know, it comes out. And then, you know, you have to apologize for the role that you play.
True.
You know, so it goes both ways. So when we know when we're in the wrong, it gives us the opportunity to restore the relationship.
I don't know about, depends on what relationship again it is, but at least to make amends. to try to right, I guess, the wrong or what have you. It'd be great to restore the relationship. And sometimes it takes time to restore relationships,
Mhm.
you know, but that is the start.
Because some hurts are so deep,
Yeah.
and I cannot, I have a hard time with you stabbing me in my neck, in my back, and in my chest. And I'm like, okay, I'm not bleeding. I'm not bleeding. No, I'm not bleeding. I'm
It takes
okay.
time for some things to
I
rebuild
am
and to
fine.
reestablish.
Yeah, I'm
And
fine.
yeah. And
And you're losing all kinds of blood. And, you know, this person is just right in front of you, just, you know, egging you on, you know, you want another stab, you know, that type of thing. I got another knife. You want to take this one too?
let's see. You just gotta tread lightly, try to protect your heart. And
But that is, I mean, it's just really, it's really, and it's good to talk about these things, because a lot of times, you know, you're supposed to be of good courage, and you're supposed to pray, and you're supposed to release things, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And all of this is biblically, it's true, and it's you know, what the Bible, what the word says to do, but can you do it?
That's a good
Can you do it?
That is
All,
a good.
you know, and sometimes you it takes a while before you can do it. You know, and I look at a lot of times when people appear to just automatically brush things off.
But they ain't dealt with it.
They dealt exactly.
They ain't dealt with it. And especially if you go back around and you pick it up at some point, it's
Right.
gonna come back. If you haven't dealt with it, it's not
If
gone.
you push it off like, okay, you know, I'm okay, everything's lovely, you know, this didn't happen, you know, or I'm, you know, I'm not going to entertain it or whatever. In the back of your mind, it's like, this helper hit me.
Absolutely.
This helper did so and so to me.
Yes.
And you still have it in the back of your mind. So when it comes up again,
There's no
you're
telling
like,
how it's going to be handled or dealt with.
November the 5th,
You might go there.
1999, you said so and so and so and so. You're like,
Yeah.
well, huh? Because you didn't deal with it then. The person's like, I forgot about it. Like, what?
Mhm.
I don't remember that. Of course you don't.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, it can cause some resentment deep down inside. You have to deal with things. And that is treading lightly too. Because how do you deal with things from a Christian perspective and still maintain, you know, your Christian relationship, your Christian character, you know, your Christian relationship with people?
And it's almost like some people
you call
want to see that other man in you. You know, the
that
man
old
you're
man.
trying to, they
Until they wake that old man up and bring the old man out, and then they be like, okay, I ain't want to see this. You don't want to see it.
Yeah, but how do you? And I guess you do by asking God to help you. And also too, again,
It takes much prayer.
Being around people who you know are really genuinely for you and have your back and will support you and will love you.
Mm-hmm.
And you really gotta know who those people are. Because sometimes
what if those people never come?
what do you mean?
What if those people never come?
No, you have some already. All of us have someone or some.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what if you have? Let me say this. When you and I go to different churches.
Now we do.
Mm-hmm. So we're not around each other in that circle. So there's different people that you encounter at the church that you go to, and there's different people that I would encounter at the church that I go to. So that's my circle. Even in if we don't work together, you work with different people. That's a circle.
True.
That I don't even know about. I don't know none of these people. I don't work with them. So, you know, I might work, you know, somewhere else in that That's another circle for me.
Mhm.
You don't know anything about these people. So your circles, when God creates those circles of people, acquaintances, friends, or people that you get close to or you form relationships with,
How
sometimes
do you know who's who?
they never are genuine.
That's true too. But that's where if you don't have anyone else, you have the good Lord. And that's what you have, that's who you have to just rely on. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And I have now that we're talking about kind of like your circles in the workplace, a friend of mine yesterday was sharing that she was promoted,
Mm-hmm.
I think, over this lady that was her friend. They were really, friends
Mm-hmm.
until she got promoted over this lady who I think thought that she was up for the job.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady did a 360.
Wow.
And it scared my friend. And I was like, you know what? Based on what you've told me, you need to just back it up.
Mm-hmm.
Back it up.
Yeah.
It's not you didn't do anything.
Right.
If this lady is throwing a tantrum and crying and screaming and acting like an infant over this position, you didn't select yourself to be promoted. Your boss selected you to be promoted. And if she has a problem with that, that's not yours. But if y'all were friends and now I don't know if I can trust this lady anymore based on what she's doing, because she's shown herself like a whole different side of herself. It scared her.
And I mean, that happens, when, especially in work, work environments and stuff like that. I've been in situations like that, myself, but
really, really, it's interesting. I just say you need to back it up, leave that lady alone.
A toxic person isn't, they're not able to see when they're in the wrong. Now we can all of us can be toxic to somebody. But a toxic person, yeah, we can. We can, because yeah, we can in certain ways. We can't, especially if we don't see, where we're in the wrong. And more often than not, they're always the victim in the situation. It's like when I say anybody can be toxic to somebody. If you don't see where you're in the wrong and you're always feeling like, oh, I'm the victim in this situation, you might not be the victim in this situation. It might be that you have victimized somebody else and you just can't see it.
True.
It's the way that you look at what happened, the way that you view the situation. You've seen in sitcoms where they show something that happened, like let's say Good Times. I think it was like a fire or something that broke out on the couch, and everybody had their own point of view of how this thing happened. And everybody that shared their point of view, they were the ones that saved the day. They were the hero in their version of what happened. And then I think the child or whatever ended up telling the truth about what happened or whatever.
Smoking.
It's crazy, but sometimes when you look at situations, it depends on how you look at a situation, and how you view it.
Yeah, and if you never look at the other side, apart from what there's always another angle or angles to look at it from. And if you only can see your one view, yeah, I can see how we could be a part of creating toxicity. Toxicity.
The toxic person usually assumes the victim mentality. They twist the situation so that somehow they are always the victim. I don't care what it is. They always the victim. They don't take responsibility for they caused it, but they blame you. And then they had go so far as to hold grudges, for something that they did and just refuse to apologize about. They argue a lot.
Yeah, some people like that.
They go to war over just about any little thing, just anything. They constantly compare themselves to others. They're not humble. It reminds me of in Luke 9:18, the publican prayer, where the Pharisee and the publican go up for prayer, and the Pharisee is like, God, I'm so glad I'm not like other people, these sinners, these, adulterers, these evildoers, these robbers, like this tax collector over here, and looking down on the tax collector who's also in the temple to pray.
Casting a lot of judgment.
But yeah, you making yourself be the victim, but looking and not taking responsibility for things that you have done. Because when you're praying, you're going up for prayer, you're supposed to be humble before God, not saying I'm so great. God, I'm glad you made me like you made me, because I just no room for improvement, unlike this sinner over here, but he was humble. He was humble. He knew. And it was like, Lord, have mercy on me. I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
He helped me,
Yeah. That's the way we.
But the ones that play the victims, those toxic people that always play the victims, they ain't never wrong. They've never done you wrong, in their mind, and they're never going to admit to doing you wrong. They always going to compare themselves to other people and think that they're better too. So,
well, that's one thing you really don't need to compare yourself to any person. I heard this said not too long ago. Someone either preached it or I heard it somewhere. And we need to really just, and I'm speaking for myself and maybe others that are listening, compare. Christ is the standard. That's who I need to compare myself to. And that's who I'm gonna try to remember that. And that's who I'm comparing myself to. Because it's easy to look over here and look over there, but I pray that I can compare myself to him.
And that's, when stuff happens and you can't automatically get over it and you can't get through it, just like time. Just like that,
it takes time with something.
You have to go to God and pray and, ask God to show you yourself, because you can't change nobody else. I read that book.
So true.
The Lord changed me. And that's the whole thing. You can't change somebody else. You got to pray, Lord, change me. Change the way that I react.
True.
Change the way that I see these things. Change the way that that I love.
And Lord, just let me accept this person, how they are, really.
And help me to pray for them.
That's all you can do, because you cannot change. You can't change another individual.
You have to change yourself to meet that challenge. If you don't have patience, Lord, give me patience.
True. Because some things are, when they have just happened and they're fresh.
You got an anger problem.
Yeah,
Lord, help me with this rage.
And when some things happen to you and they're fresh, and that's all you can replay over in your mind, how someone's doing you or hurting you or offending you, you got to do some praying, because you don't want to, I guess you could say, be a part of creating more toxicity or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't want to grow a mountain out of
a molehill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, ultimately, God's in control.
And he
So,
will fight your battles.
He will.
And I'm like, Medea, they need to get got now. They need to go get him now.
It got me, and they gonna get, yeah.
He said God was taking
Only
too
'cause,
long.
you know, that's how you feel. Like,
Yeah.
well, they got me. They need to get got now. And that's exactly how it feels.
That's how you
like, you know,
feel.
woo, you supposed to wait on the Lord. The Lord is taking too long. They need to get got now.
But he will. And I've even seen it work out in my own life that he worked it. I look
Mhm.
back and he
And
worked
see, the
it
way
out.
that the Lord can get them is by turning them around, you know, and saving them. And you know what I'm saying? And working on them, not, you know, get them as in, Lord, do something to them, you know, that type of thing. Because you want your human, you know, humanly, you want to see somebody get what's coming to them.
Depends on how
What
they
you
hurt
do,
you.
yeah. What you feel like is they got coming to them. You like, you be waiting on that. Woo, you gotta pray, because that's
You
not,
do.
that ain't, you know, that's not God either. It's not, you know, you gotta pray for people, not on them. Because
That's true.
you know, because I've heard, you know, people say, well, man, I prayed and so and so. So I said, no, that one, no, you supposed to be praying for them, not, you know, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
And I had to break it down, you know, why that was not right, and why, you know,
Or they had prayed something on them, like you said.
yeah, basically. And it was like, you know, they use the Bible to justify anything. I call down fire from heaven. So you know, but you know, honey, no, no, that ain't God.
Yeah.
That ain't love.
Right.
You know, that's not forgiveness.
Right. That's right. And when you know
That's anger.
that is.
That's a rage prayer. You know, get them, God, get them. So when you try to confront these people about how they wronged you, you know, it doesn't work.
I was gonna say I can't see that making matters better.
Because the people that play the victim, they're not able to see it that way. So when you confront them, it's like, okay, no. And they have a way of twisting it and turning it back and manipulating the whole thing, and then it's back on you, honey. It's the ball is back in your court. So it ain't nothing they did wrong to you. It was you. And they ain't never gonna admit to being wrong. So they're gonna play the victim. Again and again and again. They're gonna end up being the victim. So that type of person leaves you mentally and emotionally exhausted. Downright toxic. You don't want to even try to talk to them about the conflict, because you know how they're going to react.
Yeah.
So you avoid that confrontation. And like in the previous thing that we talked about, walking on eggshells,
right?
You know how they're going to react. So you walk on eggshells around them and try to, you know, adjust your mood to suit their mood. You know, again, none of us are perfect. And it's bound to happen that sooner or later, we're going to hurt other people.
Yeah.
We hurt people.
That's true.
Everybody hurts somebody in some kind of way.
I agree.
And, you know, in my lifetime, I've hurt people, not intentionally.
Right.
But, you know, sometimes we make selfish decisions and we don't take into account how they will affect somebody else. And it's like, you know, well, this is what I want to do, right? But what you do may affect or have an effect on a friend. And, you know, but everybody, you know, everybody has gone through that at one point in their life, some point in their life. Sometimes you grow up, you know, you get delivered from things, you know, Some people ain't been delivered from certain things.
Correct.
So, you know,
Correct.
that person that has that, that ability to pick at you and pick, you know, pick the worst parts of you out or whatever, or you know what I'm saying, or bait you. They love that.
Provoke you.
Provoke you. They love that. And that's like, you know, some people just love
They want
a
you to-
little juicy morsel of gossip,
What-
and they just they can't, you know, they can't live
Contain
without it. Yeah. And they're always looking for that next bite, you know, that next little morsel of gossip. to
And
chew on.
I don't deal in it. No, I don't want to listen to it, and I don't really want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
So even if we are willing to say I'm sorry, we got to acknowledge our mistakes. And even if we didn't do anything intentionally to hurt somebody, we still have to acknowledge our mistakes.
yes.
And a lot of times that's hard to do. You know, it might take some time to say, I'm sorry. You know, sometimes it takes some time to say I'm sorry, to, you know, to own up to things that we have done, things that we have said, you know, that may have hurt somebody else, you know, because that can be toxic in of itself. You know, when we can't admit, you know, when we're wrong. Because even with a person that's toxic, we could be in the wrong with somebody we consider as being a toxic person, or somebody that's always feel like they're right and they can never, you know, never be wrong or never apologize. Sometimes we still can end up owing that person an apology, genuinely.
True.
But because of everything that we've experienced with the person in the past, we kind of feel like, you know, they still at fault, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say more often than not, the toxic person is probably is the one that should be apologizing, but it didn't. I mean, I can see where you're coming from when you say you may not be the toxic person, but could very well owe that person an apology in the part you played as well.
So let's recap. We were talking about playing the victim tonight, and victim playing, when I looked it up in a dictionary, it's the fabrication or exaggeration of victimhood for a variety of reasons, such as to justify abuse of others. Why, you know, they justify, you know, when they're in an abusive relationship, man may justify why he hit his wife. It's always her, you know, she provoked me, she did this, you know, or to manipulate others. Playing the victim, you know, you always have those that know how to pull those heartstrings and manipulate your emotions. And they're so good at it. I mean, just so good. I don't understand. And you fall for it every time. You end up falling for it every time because you're, you know, that person that has that type of heart that they have a habit or a ability to make you feel guilty.
That's the enemy.
And
it's crazy. It's crazy how he works through people, but then it works on you.
Yeah. Or playing a victim. It could just be the way that you cope with the things that you've done. You don't want to, you know, admit that you're wrong, so you play the victim. So that concludes our show for this evening. Part 3 of toxic relationships. And when we return next week, we're going to close this out with part 4 of toxic relationships.
Amen.
Amen. So tune in every Sunday at 7 p.m. for Fireside Talks. You can purchase my book, Daughters of the King, Stop Kissing Frogs, on Amazon.com. I am Elder Pamela Horn. Amen. In order to partner with Consuming Fire Ministries, you can send your Cash App your donation to $Pam Horn, or you can support us by checking out our website at consumingfirebooks.weebly.com. Also, if you would like to check us out on our YouTube channel, Fireside Talks. Amen. Until next week, we bid you blessings and peace.